Welcome to Vice and Easy, your podcast for all things Miami Vice, with your host, Marina. Hello and welcome back to Vice and Easy. This week, we are breaking down Season 5, Episode 13, entitled The Cell Within. Per IMDb, the synopsis is as follows. Tubbs is held prisoner by a, quote, reformed psycho he put away years ago, who is obsessed with eradicating crime through extreme methods. Well, that's one way to put it. Let's get to the episode. We open underneath a bridge. My notes say it's like a Beau is Afraid situation. I'm sorry. So as you know, I bartended downtown Los Angeles for years, and I had just seen the movie Beau is Afraid in downtown with my friends. And I want to say like 1 or 2 nights later, I had to get gas on the way home, and it was like 4 a.m. I was so tired. I was like, oh, why did you do it now? You know, why didn't you get gas before you got to work? Well, of course. So I stopped at this gas station, and it's on the southeast corner, and I need to continue down to get to the highway. So after I get gas, I was like, I just didn't feel like making a left unprotected either way at that area of night. There were a lot of trucks, and I had just seen some gnarly accidents. So I make a right, and I continue going on Olympic Boulevard. Make another right. So I basically make a jug handle. And I kid you not, when it was just like a whole Beau is Afraid situation where there were just barrels on fire and just like water being sprayed everywhere from a fire hydrant and fire. It was just, maybe it was oil. I don't know. And I was just like, all right, let's get on out of here. But if you haven't seen the movie Beau is Afraid, it's not one that I would watch again. I watched it one time, and I enjoyed being able to point out that it was filmed in Montreal because I could recognize some parts. But yeah, this scene just very much gave me Beau is Afraid energy, and you can see also the guys on motorcycles. I really love that scene. But you know, we have some Utes. One of the Utes is another repeat. He was in the episode God's Work back in season 4. Great cheekbones, which again I've also posted on the gallery. Someone wants to make a deal. Some guy in a limo. Wow, big deal, right? So he goes over to see what's in the limo. As the camera pans to him peering into the window, a man taps him on the shoulder, knocks him out. He's then dragged into the limo, but the camera pans down because all the drugs and money just lie on the ground. What's going on? We're at a book signing where I got a picture of this so I could link it, and I have linked it in the show notes. I found a copy on eBay of Deco Delights, which basically kind of like a coffee table book about Miami Art Deco design. I was like, that's super cool. I might get a copy for myself. I think they'd be really fun. And then when I was on eBay looking, it was linking to other books of like South Beach. I was like, oh, that's so fun. So that'll definitely be like fun to have people over and get to crack open this book. Also, the link I linked to is selling for $11. Not bad. But what's going on at this book signing? So we see tons of copies of a black and white cover, The Cell Within, with a man behind bars. I also noted that the bars were not vertical, they were diagonal. Just interesting. Now we're getting an introduction from a filmmaker who is working with this author, and get ready to roll your eyes.
It's a gun. You load it, you aim it, you shoot it. You take life. I've been a shooter for a few years, but I only make movies. Jake Manning has pulled the trigger on real guns. Yes, damn it, he's killed, he's run drugs, but we must remember that Jake has transformed himself into an artist. In books, he has illuminated the darkest regions of human existence.
And this is where we're introduced to the author, Jake Manning, who conveniently has a cardboard cutout of himself at this book signing as well, but in prison garb. I get it. That's the whole selling point of this book. And then he's wearing, a very nice, just regular tuxedo. The other thing we notice here, besides some of the outfits are like the sailor hat, there's a special guest. The camera focuses in on Tubbs's face while Manning is blurred in the background. And they go way back. Turns out that Tubbs is the one that put him away.
Congratulations, Manning.
Thank you.
You know, it isn't every day that somebody that I bust gets on the bestseller list.
Well, let me sign your book, huh?
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Rico. Yeah, that's Spanish for rich.
Hey, wishful thinking on my mother's part.
I really thought a lot about you in the joint.
Yeah, I bet you did.
No, not anymore. I hated you at first. I mean, you put me in hell, you know. But I had to go through hell to find myself.
I had to go through hell to find myself. Didn't he kill a lot of people? I'm sure those families also went through hell, but I digress. But I do very much identify with that. I had to go through hell to find myself. You know, just like that reinvention and hitting rock bottom. He invites Tubbs to dinner as well as a kind of thank you and a way to, you know, connect and to bond. I got the heebie-jeebies, and after the cold open, I'm not the only one.
You really gonna have dinner with that guy?
Yeah. He's reformed himself, Sonny. How often do we see a guy like that in this business, huh?
Oh, about every time the parole board has a hearing.
Yeah, you laugh. Message!
Just saying. And then, you know, Rico lists off how much he's been able to accomplish while he was in prison. And Crockett makes another foreshadowing remark about how he feels being on the right side of the law.
Time to read, think, write a book. Damn, Rico, maybe we could use some time in the hole.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, not to mention the publishing deals and movies deals these guys come out with. No question about it, buddy. We're on the wrong end of the stick.
I get where he's coming from. However, I think this is pretty rare. Most criminals don't get out of jail and land million-dollar book and movie deals. Most of them end up back in jail, and it's very hard to kind of get back into the rhythm of things in the outside world, or your family's not supportive. You know, it's pretty tough. But I also understand for him as, you know, a working man to just watch someone commit crimes, do their time, and then just fall into millions of dollars. I'd be a little cheesed too. But like they said, he's about to go on vacation, which isn't that really timely. The episode last week was all about him, and this one, we're going to focus on Rico. Long story about the writer's strike and the shortened schedule, but what I do love is that Crockett is staying true to his word, and he's going fishing with Billy. And someone is very supportive of this.
Lieutenant, thanks a lot for that fishing rod. Billy's going to love it.
Have a safe trip.
Thanks.
That's very sweet. Castillo is coming over to Tubbs to try and talk some sense into him, but we all know how this is going to end.
Rico. Jake Manning was a violent man when you put him away. Linked to 2 homicides. Several more that were never proven. He threatened your life.
Message! Yeah? Like, I met with him, Lieutenant. You know, I read his book, and he's changed. I really believe that.
Go armed.
I plan to. Message!
Now let's get to the dinner party, shall we? We see Tubbs meet up with another handsome man in a white turtleneck. Again, Tubbs is rocking his Mandarin collar. But very similar vibes, very well dressed, and as cool as this looks as they set off on a boat to this house, this is the accompanying score. It's not super ominous, the score, but it definitely piques my attention. I'm like, oh, something's about to go down. And as they make their way to that, and as they And as they make their way to the house is beautiful, very 80s, with geometric shapes positioned by slats in the windows. However, as you walk in, obviously this is on the gallery, the painting, it's a real painting. Thank you, Miami Vice Wikia. I thought that it might have just been something that the department had fun with. No, this is a real painting. I linked it in the show notes, and they talk about a little bit more on the Miami Vice Wikia. That just, like, I can't even. Like, that would, if I just walked into a house like this, it would just be like a cartoon of, like, the outline of my body and just poof. So creepy. So creepy. And it very much is like, message. Get out. And then we see how Jake Manning treats his supposed best friend and personal assistant in this scene. And you can just see this is the vibe that we're going to start the night off on.
That'll be old Barry, thank you. Barry's a beautiful guy, but he took one left, took too many. Please.
And we just heard Barry say really nice things about Jake as he was escorting Tubbs to dinner. And this is how you talk about him and to him in front of guests in the house. This is already like my 18th strike in my book. Just that painting alone, just jumping out of the skeleton, jumping out of my skin and running away. But a little irritated. Yeah, I already don't like this. But Jake, continues to talk up all the personal growth he experienced in the joint and how awful prison was, but how this was a silver lining, that he was able to learn so much and learn more about the human condition society. It sounds good until...
I also came to understand that people have to be held responsible for what they do. And that's what was lacking in my life. I thought I could just do anything and damn the consequences. Do you mind if I showed you something?
I don't know.
Now, also refer to the gallery, just the body language between these two. Tubbs is very attentive, legs crossed, facing towards Manning. Manning's legs are open. He's holding a bottle of mineral water while Tubbs is holding a drink. Now, we know that Tubbs doesn't drink, but still, that also gives me a little pause, and I'm saying this as someone who doesn't drink alcohol. But in a situation like that, where I don't know where the drink is being prepared and what have you, it's a little iffy. And then the painting in the back of just like these weird faces. I didn't ID this painting. Honestly, I don't want to. I'm sorry. All these are just eating away at my soul. As Jake wants to discuss more about how people need to atone for their sins and be responsible for their actions and have some kind of karmic consequence to what they're doing. We see a painting. It looks like a judge and two other judges. Then that lifts up and we get 4 different TV screens as he lists off. I have it saved in my file as a weird ass Rorschach test.
Drugs, violence to society.
It's good. What about this?
Insider trading, greed, no respect for society's laws.
And this?
I don't recognize the face, but I say from the get-up, sadomasochism, heavy kink, sexual weirdness.
A lot weirder than you think, Rico. You mentioned sadism? This man invented it. He's the Marquis de Sade. Now, what about this?
Oh, yeah, I recognize him. Jason Lane. Sex magazines, clinical close-ups, pornography.
And as he continues discussing this with Rico, he's standing in front of his library, or I guess 2 bookshelves that are built into the wall. But the book covers are custom colors, and it's this very kind of gray khaki green and this lilac shade. But it's super creepy because those are the only 2 shades and all the books have custom covers. And I've heard of people doing this for design reasons, but Yeah, I was just extra creeped out. But again, like, this is what he's talking about. He's upset with society, and he thinks that we have things expressed in 1 minute in the 80s. Oh, he would go crazy today.
A sociopath used to be a marginal personality, but now he's become a regular cultural type. What with instant replays on television, instant food, instant sex, a so-called normal person has become, in fact, a sociopath requiring instant gratification.
I don't even know what he'd say about me having, one of those depressed days you just have 3 screens on so you don't have to feel anything. I think it was a bad day last week, so I was watching something on TV. I had my Switch and my iPad and my phone. I had 4 screens. Because you know why? Not a thought in the world. That's why. Too busy to think. And as we couldn't tell by that spiel and the ever unsettling score that Tim Truman has provided us, things are not going to go well for Rico, and he finally gets confirmation.
There are no other guests, Rico. Just you and me.
Wait a minute, man. This was advertised as a dinner party.
I had to say that. Come on. Be honest with me. If I had said we were dining alone, would you have come?
No, probably not.
Well, where you going, man?
That was Tubbs getting shot in the back by a blow dart administered by Barry. I hadn't thought about a blow dart in a very long time, to be honest. I always think about it with bears and animals. I was like, I just wouldn't expect that. There are other ways to do it, I just figured he would have been knocked unconscious. No, blow dart. We also see that this man is just like me with 4 screens in front of him when he's having a bad day. Because we have Tubbs. It's the same shot, though, on 4 different screens, CCTV, I'm assuming, as Manning is watching over. And he does pull Tubbs out of his cell because he wants to give Tubbs a tour and wants him to meet the other guests. And the first one that we meet, I'm a little curious why Manning is so incensed by this guy's behavior, because wasn't Manning put away for murder?
Let me out of here, man!
He makes his living
Let me
killing
out of
others.
here! You got no proof of that! I run a legitimate business!
And again, rules for me, but not for thee. Manning's also killed people. This guy runs a legitimate business, and if he's not even doing the killing, he's just making the deals. Manning needs to get off his high horse. We'll get to that for the rest of the episode. But also in my notes, I was like, I've never done it. I've only seen it on TikTok. People have made jails in The Sims and kept other Sims imprisoned. And then it did turn into slavery with one because she was getting the Sims to paint paintings and then selling them. I was like, okay, well, then you're actually profiting off of that. But I was like, this jail is also very well designed. Like, I'm very used to the glass box in you, and then this is quite an art form. Also, you can't hear the prisoner when they're in the cell. You have to press a button. So that's extra terrifying as a prisoner. There's no way that you can communicate with the outside world. And then we meet a few more. We have a sex worker, and then we also have the prison psychiatrist, which we'll get to that later. And then we also have the young drug dealer that he picked up in the beginning of the episode. And Tubbs sees all this. And not to laugh before the next scene, which is going to be a little dark, this picture I have, I think it's the YouTube video cover art. You're welcome. It's Tubbs and Manning in the front, both their profiles, and then in the back with the silver chain around his neck, or I guess like a silver choker with the circle, just like looking all sassy with his hip out. It's Barry in the background, and kills me. I don't really like this imagery of him wearing a choker in front of a man who is so openly kind of negative and insulting towards him. However, this is not me to judge. Now, since Tubbs isn't known to not show up to work, and he had dinner with someone who vowed to kill him and was in jail serving time for killing other people, Castillo is naturally suspicious and goes to visit the filmmaker in his studio as he has a lit cigarette in his mouth, and then kind of plays coy about giving him the address, says that he doesn't want a bunch of goons to pop in. And then I made a gif of this, of him playing keep away with Castillo, and I was like, that is the last man I would want to play keep away with, because you just get that solid stare. So hopefully Castillo gets somewhere, because Tubbs is in his cell when the partition raises, and it's killing time as Tubbs is now witnessing the guy who runs the legitimate business being sat down in a chair, electric chair, for an execution, and he watches this. I love Philip Michael Thomas, and I compliment him every chance I get. This scene is not his best acting scene.
No, God, Manning, this isn't the way.
Those that remain behind will hear and fear.
Now, you know what takes the edge off for me after I've executed somebody in my basement is pouring myself 7 ounces of cognac and bringing my latest prisoner upstairs to talk about the execution that he was just privy to.
The first time's always the roughest, kid.
You gonna do all the others like
Yeah, bring it! Bring us out of it!
Surely you can see that by now.
The wind chimes. Also, pretty unsettling in this context. Tubbs, however, I don't want to say Harry Morgan's him, but encourages him to maybe think outside the box of what he thinks is right and wrong.
And these people are small timers. You should really be going after the real criminals.
The real criminals? Like who?
Like corrupt politicians, judges on the take, politicians who steal, businessmen who steal from the public. Those are the real criminals. Those are the ones who really deserve to be punished. Why waste your time juicing junkies and whores? Go after the big ones, man. And I can help.
Oh, yeah? How?
I know things. I hear things that could never be used in court. Never. Why should they go unpunished just because they know how to manipulate the system?
Yeah. They act so respectable and self-righteous. I truly hate them.
You and I could make a perfect team. Just like you always dreamed about.
And as Manning's pondering this possible arrangement, I will give kudos to Tubbs for thinking on his feet. I would not be so cool, calm, and collected to bargain with my kidnapper / possible executioner. But I really like the way that he's trying to get himself and everybody else out of the situation by making Manning think that it's his own decision. And when Manning brings up the whore, that we're gonna get a little bit more FaceTime with in a bit, because she's a lot of fun. Tubbs like, yeah, she's small time, whatever. He just wants like a little bit of time to talk to her so he can be able to show Manning that, there's bigger fish to fry. And I love that when she and Tubbs finally talk, this is how she talks to him.
Oh, Well, I think I know a little bit more about men than you do, honey, okay?
Damn it, listen to me. You are an innocent kid.
That's a great response, right? Like, she does know men a little better than he is. But he's really trying to get that into her head. And they're talking, that noise in the background is the water running, so that Manning can't hear on the mic. And basically they agree that they are going to give her a make-under, and she's going to be the Virgin Mary. And as you can see in the gallery, I don't know where they found this outfit, but she appears all in white, fresh-faced, with like white tulle around her head. And Manning is very surprised. You know who doesn't buy it is Barry Gay, and this is what happens to him.
You may be right.
Oh, Mr. Manning, she's just a whore.
Shut up!
I did make a great gif of the slap, by the way. And as he continues to shit on Barry in front of guests, he wants to talk to Anna a little bit more to see that that's the real her. Tubbs is like, uh-oh, like that wasn't part of the plan, and tries to backtrack it.
Anna's anxious to return home to her parents.
Of course, after we talk.
Wait a minute. You said you let her go.
I want to talk to Anna alone. Keep Rico company while I'm gone.
Not really much surprise, as it's the cover art for this episode, but they go upstairs to talk. And I really like the shot of this episode because you get the two, I don't want to say weird pillars, but they kind of look like screws, threaded. I need to learn the design descriptors of some of these things that I talk about. I do apologize. And you can see the triangle and the square formatted in the window as they're both wearing white, looking at each other. And I laughed when he asked this question outright.
How many men have you slept with? You can tell me.
That's an icebreaker.
Tell me what happened to you. How did you start on the dark road?
My father.
Your father. You too.
And we cut back and forth between Tubbs talking to Barry, trying to, kind of open his eyes. Open up his mind and his eyes.
For God's sake, why don't you open up your mind and your eyes?
Sorry. I just think that kind of showing these, juxtaposing these interactions of people thinking that they're doing the right thing, and in Tubbs' case he is. He's really trying to show Barry. Also, Barry knows that this is not the way he should be treated by his so-called best friend. But then seeing how Manning kind of twists and manipulates this savior act, and surprise, surprise, it doesn't go well. And yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
You were as lonely as I was.
I was. Completely alone. I just wish I could go back to being a kid again, because I was happy then.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. Does that feel good? Do you like that?
Do you want me to?
I want you to do what you want.
Yeah, he's gleefully rubbing her feet and then works her way up her leg. And that's not the response that he wanted. But let's cut back to Tubbs and see how he's trying to kind of break down the wall that Barry has up.
A real friend would have never done something like that. A real friend would have treated you with respect.
He is my friend and he needs me.
He needed you in prison. Not now. He hangs around with movie stars, appears on TV. He never takes you to things like that, right?
No, he don't.
Yeah, not really a shocker that Tubbs doesn't really get that far and isn't really able to open Barry's mind up. And just because they were best friends in prison doesn't mean that that relationship translates well into today, as we can see with how he treats him. He ends up knocking Barry out. Unfortunately, our born-again virgin is no longer. Her neck isn't fully covered. Not to be morose, but I was trying to figure out how she died. Did he strangle her? Because she doesn't seem to have any wounds. There's no blood. I don't see anything on her neck, but part of her neck is also hidden, so that could be why. Very sad. I unfortunately kind of knew that was going to happen. And then back in the outside world, Gina and Trudy have been staking out the director, trying to get the address. The number that he gave Castillo obviously didn't go anywhere. And they're able to spot him, and they run after him. After Tubbs has a little bit of moment of freedom, he sees the body of the born-again virgin. He breaks out the prison shrink and Eddie. And just as he gets to the living room, Tubbs also gets knocked out this time. But there's a great gif I made of both of them kind of KO each other Street Fighter style. And then Philip Michael Thomas, he's on the floor and then his legs are still up. So he moves his legs like a second or two later, which I thought was very comical. Now things are going a lot worse as Manning takes the prison psychiatrist and Tubbs down into the basement, and Barry again is holding Tubbs at gunpoint. Seems that whatever Tubbs said didn't stick with him. Maybe also knocking somebody unconscious as you're trying to talk a little bit of sense to them doesn't really work. The prison shrink and Tubbs are trying to reason with him. I will say he looks so sassy in this scene with the cigarette and the white robe. I digress. Great picture of it. And Tubbs is super fed up, and he's done trying to play psychological games on this madman, and he just lays into him.
You are sick.
No. No, listen to me.
Yeah.
Listen to me. Yes. I swear. Sick.
I never felt better. I want you to feel, Rico, what I feel. Rico, if you were to push the switch and electrocute Dr. King, then you would feel what I feel. And maybe you'll understand. I understand. Oh, yeah, I understand one thing. The only person that should be in that chair is you, Jake.
When Tubbs goes to talk with the prison psychiatrist, again, the young hooker is dead. Eddie is dead. The first guy with the legitimate business is dead. She can kind of tell what's coming, and she knows that she's next. We do get a glimmer of hope because we cut to Switek at the marina when he's radioing in as the filmmaker is on his way via boat to Manning's. So they're able to tail him that way. Then back in the execution chamber, that's just what I'm going to call it, Tubbs tries to plead with Manning, but it turns out Manning has other plans for Tubbs.
You don't have to do this.
I'm not going to. Rico, you are.
Now, as she's pleading for her life, I'm not trying to make light of this, but my note says she is on her knees begging for forgiveness while he holds a cigarette like a diva. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then Manning leaves because, again, Tubbs is going to set everything up to pull the switch. Again, you have to go to the gallery because just out of context, this picture is so wild as Manning has the gun. Tubbs is in the background standing next to the psychiatrist who is all ready to go in this electric chair. But as Manning leaves, Tubbs thinks that he can get himself out of the situation, and he shouts out Mr. Wizard.
What are you doing?
Trying to remember what Mr. Wizard said about electricity.
Today I learned that Mr. Wizard was a precursor to Bill Nye the Science Guy, and his program ran from 1951 till 1965 approximately. So that makes sense. That timeline does add up. So fingers crossed, let's hope it goes well, because we have a surprise visitor. Phelps, the filmmaker that, again, Vice is tailing, has come by to see Manning because, things are getting a little weird. And he tries to spell this out for Manning, saying, the cop didn't come home. And then Manning responds that he's with the other guest. And then Phelps kind of realizes this until he's brought downstairs into the execution chamber and rightfully flips his shit.
You idiot!
What do you mean?
What are you trying to get me into? Tubbs! I got nothing to do with this.
You heard it now, Phelps.
Talk to Jake.
What are you talking about? Bobby, you're the one who said I was an outlaw. You're the one who said that we were both outside bourgeois reality, that we were both over the edge.
Cinco! It's a metaphor!
Wait a minute. No.
It's not real!
No, don't, Bobby, no, you'll make me...
A metaphor.
What do you mean a metaphor? What is...
That means I didn't tell you to kill anybody. Really?
Manning gets angry, calls him a hustler, and they start fighting. A very comical series of punches, I may add. And as the shrink and Tubbs tries to help Phelps, Barry shuts that down by trying to turn on the machine. But luckily, thank you to Mr. Wizard, it short circuits and they're able to escape, Manning included. There's a standoff outside the house with Tubbs and Manning separated by the pool. Manning knows that his time is up. Vice is closing in on him. Tubbs, where was this gun the whole time? Is also what I'm curious to know. Did I miss this? He said that he was going armed. And I understand they might have taken it from him as they shot him from the dart. So where'd he find it? I totally missed this. Maybe I did. I'm so sorry. I digress. As Manning is surrounded, Tubbs, Switek, Steo. Tubbs tells him not to do anything stupid and not to try anything. Manning makes the motion that he's going for his gun, gets shot, suicide by cop, and these are his final words to Rico.
You've finally done it.
Done what?
I've never been free, Rico.
That weird score is probably the best way they could have wrapped up this episode with how weird and dark and heavy it was. So let's get into it. Let's get into some fluffy stuff. Let's talk fashion. Surprise, surprise. Best dressed man. I'm going to give it up to Rico, rocking out with another Mandarin collar, holding a glass of soda water. So again, like I mentioned in that scene, that Jake Manning was holding a bottle of, I'm assuming Perrier. It was a glass bottle. I'm assuming it was mineral water. And then Tubbs has a glass, clear liquid. I actually really like the glass. I really like the texture and the gold rim around it. It's a great cocktail glass. However, Tubbs does not drink. What is he pouring him? This is way before non-alcoholic spirits. So was it also soda water, but in a glass with ice, and maybe Jake was having his without ice? Who knows? But looks like $1 million in this scene. Best dressed woman, I didn't even have a clip of dialogue with her in, and I'm so sorry, Trudy. Looking amazing, serving looks this whole episode. And there's a GIF I made of them chasing after Phelps after scoping him out at the Sterling Tower. Also, I don't think it's the same Donald Sterling that's in Los Angeles that owned the Clippers and that was in the news then. But there are some really cool buildings in Beverly Hills and on the west side that are Sterling. And I was like, oh, they're so cool. I'm like, no, damn it, I know who. I'm sure that's him or his family. I kind of want to research it, but I kind of don't. But they're really cool Art Deco buildings in Beverly Hills. And I was like, oh, damn it, every time. I was like, don't be that Donald Sterling. Speaking of decor, I really have to give best decor to the lighting. There was some glass blocks on the ground floor, but I really love the glass block balcony that has orange and pink lights on either side with Jake Manning standing in the middle about to start his house of horrors, if you will. And as we wrap up fashion, I really love that Virgin Madonna look because I don't know where they found that outfit because she clearly did not have it on her. But she was wearing white, which I also thought that was interesting. Even as the whore, she just had eye makeup and was wearing white. And then all of a sudden, it's a different style and a different fabric and born again. Also, I noticed no nail polish on the toes or on the nails. I wonder if Rico scrubbed that off too, or that's just how she was. But this was going to be my best dressed man, but I gave it to Rico because he looks so great. But it's my wild card is that image of him, of Jake Manning on the electric chair, smoking with that cigarette holder, legs crossed, and that white robe as the shrink is begging for her life. I was like, who is this diva but derogatory? Oh, man. As we make our way onto music, there's only one original song in this episode, Keys to Imagination by Yanni, that was playing during the book signing, during the whole I'm a shooter spiel. Great. There's a great video I just found of him on YouTube performing it. However, I really love this score by Tim Truman, and I think it might be my favorite this episode. It is very Melrose Placey, but it really sets the scene in a way that I didn't expect with that score. So I'm going to give it to Tim Truman this episode. Let's break down my favorite quotes of the episode, because we got some good comedic relief with all the torture and imprisonment this episode. I give you quote number 1.
You got no proof of that. I run legitimate business.
I'm sure he has to pay his taxes one way, right? He has to launder his money some way. I'm sure there's some kind of shell corporation or restaurant that is his cover. Quote number 2.
Oh, well, I think I know a little bit more about men than you do, honey, okay?
And quote number 3.
You don't have to do this.
I'm not going to. Rico, you are.
The reverse Uno of it all. But I'm going to have to give it to our girl for the quote of the episode.
Oh, well, I think I know a little bit more about men than you do, honey, okay?
Oof, but I was a little bit more confident than she should have been, because we all saw how that turned out for her. But I digress, and I'm going to wrap up the episode there. And I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in as we broke down Season 5, Episode 13, The Cell Within. And join me next week as we break down The Lost Madonna. That's going to be a fun one. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for supporting me by listening, by subscribing, by following me on all things social at Vice and Easy Podcast, for leaving 5-star reviews on Apple, for telling your friends, and for loving Miami Vice with me. Let's continue as we wrap up Season 5, and see you next time.
Hey, man, Miami Vice is #1 new show.